Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Find Her Seat, podcast that helps other women find their respective seat at the table with health, wellness, beauty, and business.
And now we're because we have our Sara Loureiro, who is joining us from Nicaragua.
Yes. So
how awesome is that we were able to have a guest in another country. So welcome, Sara.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So you're a life coach, is that right?
Yeah, so I'm a certified life coach and actually also a certified business coach.
Right, it's so awesome. So, Sara found us through LinkedIn. So just to let you guys know that social media is really a powerful tool for getting out there, putting your business out there, putting your podcast out there. And so really excited that we had her reach out to us and asked if she could be on the show. But first, I want to say, as we usually say in the beginning, which is fine, I'm Jennifer Etter, I'm your co-host, and this is Susan Mobley.
We're excited to have someone from another country joining us on our show today.
So, Sara, I just want to know, tell me a little bit about your background. First off, how did you get to be in Nicaragua? Where do you come from? Just tell us everything.
Right. So I was pretty much born and raised in and around Toronto, a little bit with my family as well. And I did all of the things that I was supposed to be doing in terms of schooling. Like I got my bachelor's degree, my master's degree. I traveled for a little bit, and once I was in my 9-to-5, which I was in my 9-to-5 for about almost 7 years, that's when like something just kind of hit me that I was not on my path. I was on someone else's path that they really wanted me to be on. And so from there, I just had a lot of really radical shifts happen, I think coming from within. So I struggled a lot with anxiety. I actually struggled a lot with a lot of like digestive issues and things like that. And it just kind of all led me on this path of just really trying to find out what I wanted, where I was meant to be. And once I kind of started finding that out, I started my own business. So I started my own yoga and wellness coaching business about 4 years ago. And then I grew that to be able to leave my 9-to-5. And that was really exciting. And then we ended up moving to his family's organic farm in Nicaragua. And then after that, I had so many women asking me, like, how do I do this? How do I do something that's so similar to what you're doing? I really, really want to do this. And so I ended up getting certified in business coaching. And so I've been doing business coaching for a little bit over a year now. And what I primarily do is, yes, I help them with the strategy and the marketing pieces. But I think one of the most important pieces that I really help my clients with is finding their own voice and really showing up for other women as well.
So I'm going to back up because one of the things that you said was, you realized you were living a life on a path that maybe there was an expectation, but physical manifestation to your own personal path. And many people ignore these things and think a dietary problem or actually you on it and said, hang on, I'm having a physical problem. This physical problem is a manifestation of something. Tell me exactly, because I know there's many ways that people can learn, but who getting back on. Sorry about that. I don't know. I hope that you heard what I asked, and it was just a little blip. Can you hear us now, Sara?
Yes. Okay, good. Great. Yeah.
Okay. We've lost sound with you, though. So hold on, guys. So basically, this is a live show. So as you know, anything and everything can happen at any moment. And so we always just have to roll with the punches. But, you know, when you're dealing with crazy things, there. All right. Can you hear us, Sarah? So you,
Are we back?
yes.
Okay.
There
Good.
we go. Okay. So what I was saying, here we go. Kind of feedback and why, but hang on. Turn off. Yeah. Okay. So what we were saying was that, you know, you had the physical manifestation of something that was going on in your life. There was a resistance to your own personal path. And that there are a lot of people that would chalk that up to just, oh, well, I'm just not eating the right foods or something like that. Where did you actually learn that there's a connection to the mind and body?
Yes, I love this question because it definitely wasn't just something that I could pick up on my own. I ended up going through, so I did a little bit of therapy in my master's degree, because in my master's degree, like I just had, anxiety was at an all-time high. It was super, super helpful. And then I went to my 9 to 5 and I found the same issues were creeping up again. And one of the best things that I was told by my counselor at that time is that my anxiety was trying to tell me something. And that's when everything just kind of clicked for me. I was like, what are you talking about? My anxiety is trying to tell me something, right? Like all too often when we deal with mental health issues, it's this whole, like, we need to get past them, right? Like we need to just throw them away, right? Like, let's throw the anxiety away. Let's throw the depression away. Let's try to, like, you know, make sure that we're back to normal. And the really interesting thing that the reframe that she really helped me to do was to realize that it was a guide. So rather than being a nuisance, it was a guide. It was trying to tell me something. And once I started understanding that, like at that point in time, I never wanted to own a business. I didn't think I wanted to, I knew I wanted to leave my job. I knew I wanted to find another job because it just wasn't really fulfilling for me. But I had no idea what my deepest inner desires were. But she really helped me to navigate, really uncovering them and giving myself permission to start saying no to a lot of things that I just didn't really want to be doing, a lot of things that weren't lighting me up, and just really starting to connect. And when I started doing that, and when I started, because I was practicing yoga at the time, but when I started using my yoga practice as a tool, like a mental tool more than just a physical tool, and also a spiritual tool, and that's kind of when things just really started clicking for me. And it was just a huge snowball effect from there, which was really exciting. And looking back, and I know so many people who say this, and it's so, so true. So if anyone who's watching this or listening to this feels like they have this physical or mental ailment that just they hate and they wish that they didn't have, sometimes they are blessings in disguise, right? And that's something that I realized, because if I didn't have all of those issues, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Absolutely. I think that it's so important that people recognize when, you know, it's beyond just the mental, but it does start to get into your body and start to come out in weird ways. I've spoken about this as well. And I can definitely relate to you as far as doing what you feel like you should be doing versus what your gut is telling you. Literally, your gut is telling you what you should be doing. I mean, I grew up in a family where you went to college, you had that, you know, the career to be Dr. Lawyer, and then you do that, raise a family. And it wasn't until I kind of realized that wasn't what I wanted to be doing that everything I was manifesting started to come to fruition. So when I stopped fighting against what I knew I should do. And I think that's kind of what you were able to do.
Right. And also, too, actually, I was going to say, right before the show started, I was talking to Susan, and it's interesting because I was telling her, I said, I'm starting to get rosacea all of a sudden. Like, I think that's what I'm getting. And I said, I think I need to research and get a little bit deeper. I was actually thinking of a book that I have by Louise Hayes. It's Heal Your Body, and she talks about that there's certain physical manifestations that equate to an emotional or thought process, thought patterns, and that we need to really pay attention to those. So I obviously have something coming up that I need to address. And so I'd like to ask you, in your practice, is this something that you work with your clients? Do you go over some of these things?
Yes. And so primarily within my business coaching, what we do, and so usually when people sign up with me for business coach, take your online business from like pure foundations to consistent clients and all of that kind of stuff, right? And oftentimes what we don't realize is that it's not just the doing that we want to be focusing on, it's also the being. And it's really interesting. And this is why I love life coaching so much, because once you get into these things that you're talking about, it becomes like you have just these light bulb moments in your head, right? Where it's just like, oh my goodness. The reason why I feel uncomfortable with selling my services to someone is because of the fact that my mom always told me when I was growing up that that selling is evil, or that, businesses are evil, or and things like that. And so we look at everything. We look at everything from, from childhood all the way up to where everyone usually is. So where my clients usually are at this specific moment in time. And they start to understand these patterns of like why these things are coming up for them. Why are these things manifesting? Why do they feel so much resistance to going on a Facebook Live, for example? And it's really interesting because once you get down to those things, it's like, oh my goodness. So it wasn't just the fact that I was lazy. It wasn't just the fact that, I was scared or nervous. It's actually so much more deeply rooted. And the more that we can find out what is going on deeper inside of us, the easier it is to pull it out, and the easier it is to be able to overcome it. So absolutely. I don't necessarily do like health related checks with my clients, but it's more so the mind. It's everything that comes as a result of what are they believing, and what are they thinking, and what do they believe to be true. That is so important, because our minds really, and our thoughts really reflect what types of actions we're going to be taking in our lives.
So how are you able to do that? I know Jennifer and I, we know all about being able to run a business from our phone, from anywhere, but you're in Nicaragua. So how are you able to connect with people everywhere?
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I think that my story really inspires a lot of the people who follow me within like all of the communities that I'm in. But it was, like we were living in the core of Toronto right before I left, like I had like really, really quick Wi-Fi, all of that kind of stuff. But I knew that this was the next step for us. And this is just something that we always wanted to do with our own lives. We actually want to start another business, my husband and I. And so once we kind of just were able to get past all of our own limiting beliefs about what we could and couldn't do here, it was literally just okay, well, first we had to give our notice to our apartments. We had to give like our 2-month notice that we were leaving, right? And then second, we had to give our notice to our employers. And all of that was so hard because it was just like, what if this doesn't work out? Are we actually this crazy, right? We had to sell our cars. We had to give up our insurance. We had to sell all of our furniture because there was no way that we could bring any of that here. And it was this huge piece of trust, and trusting that, like we were on the right path, trusting that we were going to make this work. And it's literally, it's so easy to work from here. And it's really so easy to work from anywhere, as long as you have, like we have the internet, right? so I'm always on my Instagram stories. I'm always kind of posting, you know, like, this is where I live, like, this is what it looks like right now, because where we live is absolutely gorgeous. And I think that that part of my story has really inspired a lot of the people that I've worked with, because they're like, I want to do that. How do I do that? Right? Like, how did you do this? And I even remember talking to a few friends of mine that I had met online who had been doing similar things. And I was like, gosh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I have the courage to do this. You know, like, I have my 1 month notice printed to give to my manager. And it was a 1 month notice, because I was like, I can't give her 2 weeks, right? Like, I had worked with her for so long. I think it was actually a 2 month notice, actually. And I was like, I can't do this. I don't know. Like, I can't. And you find the strength to do it, right? Like, I think that you find the strength and you find the trust to be able to really go after what you want. And once you take the leap, like, it's so simple. It is really so, like, what I'm doing is really so simple. Anyone can do it.
So yeah, that's what you just said about how often are people standing on the ledge, or standing even just in the doorway. You know, if you're in a bad relationship, be it a relationship with your job or a relationship with a person, so often people hang on to those things because they're just so afraid of what's on the other side. Absolutely. And it's literally, when we see men where just take the leap and you think that it's going to be like a huge fall, but it's actually just a step down. And that once you break through that things are just, when you're literally following your path and what's set out before you, what you're supposed to be doing, right? Your calling. So you're basically, you and your husband, you're following your calling. And so I am sure that right now that because that's literally because there's no resistance, and you probably, gosh, your health is probably amazing too. Since you said organic farm, oh my gosh. I mean, so you guys are really, I hope that a lot of people, because their name out there on this podcast, are not only inspired, but also reach out to you, because you are an inspiration to a ton of people who maybe are just standing there holding on to the rope of old patterns, old ways, that if they just let go of the rope, that they will find that life is a lot easier.
Like our guest last week, she said, why not?
Yes, I love that. Why not?
And I think that goes in complete alignment with what Sarah's saying too. Like, why and live on an organic farm and run your business from the internet? Like, why not? We only get one life. You know, this is not our dress rehearsal.
This is the one life we're living right now.
Well, yeah. This is the one life we for certain know about, and it's not a dress rehearsal. You got to live it to its fullest, for sure.
I fully and wholeheartedly believe that we are all here to experience as many experiences as possible at the level that we possibly can. Be that good, bad, and different, as many experiences. This weekend, I was involved in a Google contest. And let me tell you, there were many parts of me that were like, oh, no, don't do it. But then the biggest part, and this is kind of what I've been telling people over the past year or so, is I'm doing my bucket list. In the past couple of years, I've considered checking off all of my bucket list. I mean, I'm literally, and so I've been living a life of why not, or do it scared, just do it. Who knows what can happen? You don't know what's going to happen. And if I, let's say, pass away in the next couple of years, I want to know that I've actually done everything perfectly done. I have no regrets. It sounds like that's what you are teaching people, because that's what you're doing. So, by example, you're teaching people no regrets. No regrets.
Yes, thank you. Yes, exactly. I love this. And it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. And I think that it's, you know, it's just take the leap and just do it is one thing, right? Because it is that easy. Like it is, you know, printing off your 2 months notice or whatever it is and giving it to someone, right? But the emotional and the mental toll of everything is something that is very difficult to navigate. But, you know, finding mentors, like finding ladies like you ladies who are so inspiring, who are, you know, who have an entire podcast about finding your seat, right? Like finding your place, finding what it is that you are meant to contribute to the world. I mean, like, that's amazing. Finding people like me, right, where anyone can reach out to me on Instagram or in my Facebook group and ask me a few questions, or just, you know, let me know about their lives. I think it's so important that we have other women out there who are really supportive, and just like it means so much. It meant so much to me when I was in that phase of, like, you know, the last few months of 2017, and knowing that other women had done this, and knowing that they were telling me, like, it's so worth it, just meant so much to me too, that they were able to almost hold my hand and help guide me through all of the decisions that I was making. And I remember, even for myself, I remember thinking, like, this is no longer like an issue of, you know, just making a decision. For me, it was an entire, like, spiritual evolution that I felt like I needed to be doing for myself, because the decision was just so much greater than me. It was so much greater than, you know, what I was supposed to be doing with my life. It was so much greater than, you know, like, giving in my notice. And when I really fully stepped into that, I think that when we can acknowledge exactly what you ladies were saying, literally just, we have one life that we know of, right? And to kind of just give into our fears all of the time is so debilitating. And it's not what we're raised. It's not what we're raised with as little girls, right? As little girls, we're all raised with, you can do whatever you want, right? You're gonna be so happy. You're gonna be, like, you know, you're gonna have the life that you want. You know, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's all of these, like, magical fairy tales, and everything is so easy. And then once you hit adolescence, and once you hit, you know, university or whatever, wherever you end up going, it's this whole, we weren't actually serious when we said that, right? Like, you can have whatever you want, but it comes with all of these different stipulations. And so I think a lot of what we're talking about here is beginning to question all of that. And once we begin to question all of that, that's when we really get to the root of what our purposes are, right? And what we are meant to do here.
Yes. Also, I wanted to add to that a little bit. I think that we are really evolving. So as a society, we are evolving. You know, we literally were in a place where women weren't allowed to vote, we weren't allowed to buy a car, we weren't allowed to, even at one time, we weren't even allowed to have an education. And so this is what has disempowered women. And now that we are evolving, it's taken quite a few hundred years, you know, 100 years for women to really start to find their power again. And then society is now starting to kind of evolve a bit. Mm-hmm. And so our goals are changing. So yes, of course, that you can do anything you want to do, but then when you actually become a woman and maybe have a family, then it's like, well, what do I do? Am I supposed to, my only role is supposed to be mom? Right. Because I know I struggled with that. I didn't know. Like, once that started happening, I thought, I guess my only main role was to be mom. And boy, that didn't sit with me. And I'm sorry, all of you moms out there, that is your role, and that is the number one role. And I admire all different, and we all have a different path. It wasn't enough. Because it's not like for me to be the best mom that I could possibly be, especially having two daughters, was to become the best woman, the most evolved woman, so that they could then follow suit as well.
Yeah, and I think it's important what you're saying, and that is that there is no right or wrong for anyone. It's figuring out what your right is, right? And that someone might see it as that doesn't make that true.
Right.
You have to find what's going to work for you. I mean, I think it was 1920 is when women got the right to vote. You know, here we are in 2019, almost less than 100 years ago, that women even got the right to vote. And here we are, two women doing a podcast with another amazing woman in the right, you know, in years. You know, it's amazing. And we can take it to the fact that we can.
And also to give each other grace that, and our society, just have a little grace, because we all in this phase, and that we are all definitely in our own rightful seat at the table. Whatever that table be, you know what table that is? And your Thanksgiving dinner, whatever that table be, you're finding a seat at the table. I do want to recognize a few people really quick that have jumped on. So we have Susie. Susie, she's always such an amazing supporter. She has tagged quite a few other women that I think she thinks will find a lot of value. And we have Melanie. Melanie, good morning. How are you? We're so glad you hopped on. And of course, we have our ever supportive Joe. Who likes to come on and give all of the support. We love everybody.
And we always say we're not a men-hating show.
No.
At all. We love our men.
Not a man-bashing show. We absolutely love men. We love everything about men.
And we all supportive men.
Yes, and we always support men as well too. It's an equal thing, and that's what we hope, that men don't ever feel like they can't come on the show and say, hey, they support as well.
Yeah.
Sure, we can relate. And so, okay, now we're getting to the part of the show that I like to ask all of our guests the same question. And this is the only question that I ever let anybody know that I'm going to ask, or that we are going to ask, because we like to be as organic as possible. Is now it's time for you to tell us why.
Now it's time for me to tell you
your why.
I didn't get the last part. My why. Sorry. Right. So for me, it's really, when I think about this, and when I think about all of the success that I've been able to create out of my business, and when I think about scaling and growing, I'm like, well, what is the overall picture here? And for me, it comes down to leadership, and it's women's leadership, and it's really empowering women to be their own leaders. So whether that be, leaders in their households with their children, or, like leaders as big CEOs. And the more leadership and empowerment I can instill in other women to just be able to do what they want to do, be able to speak the way that they want to speak, that to me is what really, really lights me up. And so I'm a business coach, right? And I help people start and scale their own businesses. But I'll reach, and a lot of what I talk about is empowerment, is just this idea of, like owning who you are, but not just that. Is I feel like we all have to, once we all hone in on our personal responsibility to be a leader, that is what completely lights me up. And so in every single respect of every single woman out there, is just how much more can we stand up as leaders for both ourselves and our future generations. So that, I would say, is my biggest why.
Love it.
Yeah.
When you said that people can reach out to you in all different areas, and we know social media, so can you let everyone know where to find you?
Yeah, so Sara J. Loureiro. So my last name has a ton of vowels. So it's SaraJ Loureiro. So you can go to .com, or you can put that into Instagram, or you can put that into Facebook. That's always my handle. I also have a Facebook group called Fearlessly Free and Wealthy Females, where we talk a lot about online business and how to grow and scale, primarily for service-based female entrepreneurs. And I have a few freebies as well for our either just starting up their businesses or wanting to scale and grow their businesses. You can find those on my website, so sarajloureiro.com. I'm most active, I would say I'm most active on Instagram equally, so you can find me there.
That's awesome, and we love when guests are willing to be giving to others and free as well, and empower those women that maybe just need that little extra push today to reach out and a shout out.
Yeah.
So
I definitely hope that we have provided a person that can inspire our audience to reach out, to grow, to do whatever it is that sets you on fire, and to fully find your footing on your path. I think that it's so important, and I'm that we had Sara on here today.
Absolutely. And I wanted to let y'all know that if you want to make sure to never miss a Find Her Seat show or podcast, that you can find us on Facebook at Find Her Seat, Instagram at Find Her Seat, LinkedIn, as well as Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, you name it, we're out there on YouTube. If there's a spot that social media is available, then you will find her seat. But until next time, we want to thank Sara, that has an amazing Tuesday, and that you all go out there and find your seat.
Thank you so much, ladies. You're so inspiring.